How's it going, Catherine?
It's going great. I'm sitting
Excellent.
here looking out the window while it's a blizzard. But
Is it really seriously a blizzard right now?
yeah, in fact, before jumping on here, I thought, oh, I wonder how stable the internet's going to be. But yeah, I'm here with you in a warm house and sharing some space with you. And so I appreciate you very much for sharing this time.
Absolutely. And thank you. And we're recording this actually on Valentine's Day, and some people are probably out and about. So maybe that's why the internet is a little easier to access today. I don't know. But so where are you located? You're getting a blizzard right now.
So I am just north of Spokane, Washington. So I'm up on literally a mountainside. So yeah, I'm surrounded by trees and snow and snow
Excellent.
going sideways. How about you?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Most people don't know where that is. So I say west of Harrisburg. And if I still get a blank look, I say in the middle, pretty much in the middle between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And then I usually get an understanding there. So yeah, I'm back where my four kids and now second grandchild are located. So that's nice to be around family.
Yeah. So Pennsylvania is probably similar weather to me. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
latitudinally, we're about in the same plane. So yeah, we had a lot of ice, snow, days in the 20s, days in the teens. So yeah, it's very similar weather. And interestingly enough, you and I are very similar when it comes to enjoying making a difference in people's lives, right? Personally, professionally. Um, I've known you. And I was trying to think about this the other day. I've known you for seems like a long time. Been following you for probably, I don't know, 7, 10 years on LinkedIn. Um, you are now a business coach, right?
Yes,
And
very much.
particularly in the insurance industry.
Very specifically working with insurance professionals and their agencies. So the whole dynamic, the whole culture, yeah, that's what I love to play in. I took a break, right? I had my insurance agency, sold it, retired, if you will, don't need to work. Um, and was called coach. Hey, coach, teach me, show me, help me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, coming from a regulated industry, I was like, I can't do that. Don't call me that unless I have a title or, I'm certified. So but yeah, I've spent some time, 7 years, the last 7 years, coaching a variety of topics, and I really am enjoying going back into the professional workplace and working with the agents, the managers, the support staff, the whole team. And you're right, the business and the personal, the professional, all of it. So yeah, it's fun.
I mean, obviously, coaching is different than owning your own agency, right? But what are some things that are uniquely you or that you enjoy the most out of coaching versus being an agency owner?
Funny enough, I believe that if I knew what I know today, the very beginning of buying and purchasing my insurance agency, I would have been lethal.
Mm.
Probably be monopoly, right? Owning a bunch of different agencies and really would have expanded. I mean, what I know now is incredibly valuable. I mean, it's really understanding the human mind and brain and how we function and how to really train the brain to work for you rather than against you. I mean, there's so many
Mm.
things in an insurance agency that, especially right now with the climate that we're in across the whole country, I mean, pretty much every state has got their unique challenges with the fires, the all sorts of things, right? I don't want to go into that, but rate increases all across the board, and just the insurance industry is really struggling, and then news and the social media, there's a lot of hate, a lot of negativity. And knowing what I know now, it would really benefit everyone, that's not something that they can manage. It's outside of their control. So owning an insurance agency versus coaching, answering your question, is very different. It's especially for the way I ran my insurance agency. And again, one of the pieces I would do differently is I wore so many different hats,
Mm,
especially the first half of my owning my agency. I wore all the hats, especially in the very beginning, from cleaning the toilets to filing things in a filing cabinet. Yeah, I was back in the day where I wrote on carbon paper, the
mm.
magic paper, my daughters would call it. Uh, yeah, even back to the DOS. My beginning insurance was at Geico and on a typewriter. Like, I'm dating myself a little bit, but yeah, I wore a lot of hats. And as a coach, knowing what I know now, it's really figuring out what your strengths are, what your
Mm,
natural gifts are, what you're wired to do well. What is your blueprint? What are your natural skills and talents, and really honing in on that and developing those, and finding people to put on a team that have those skills, natural skills and talents and strengths that you don't, and
mm,
really fostering them and building them up and creating a culture where they grow and evolve those strengths and talents, right? So again, for sure, the first half of, well, yeah, probably definitely the first half of my owning my agency, I hired a lot of people like me because I wanted to work
mm,
around people that I liked, that were like me, and I just kept hitting my head against the wall, and I would have agents and friends and colleagues say, "Wow, you have an evolving door," and clients, they would say, "Man, every time I come in here, you have different staff." And it's because I was trying to figure it all out. But when I really figured out the puzzle of hiring people that are the opposite of me or
mm,
have strengths in areas that I didn't really care for, at the end, the last few years of running my agency, I was really overseeing it.
mm.
Just I wasn't cleaning the toilets anymore. I hadn't for many years, but I wasn't wearing all the hats, right? I had maybe two hats. And and it was really fun. It
Hmm.
really created something that was fun and exciting for me to get up and go to work. And that's a lot of what I work with my clients as a whole, is creating a life that you don't need a vacation from. Creating, being able to jump up and get out of bed without an alarm. Who wouldn't want that?
Excellent. Excellent. You mentioned a lot of things there. I'm going to go back if that's okay. Because again, I'm in the benefits universe, like you are. I'm not coaching. I end up coaching sometimes, even though I'm not getting paid for it. Because you and I love adding value to people, right? We like
Yes.
making a difference. Relationships are huge. But I get to talk to a lot of advisors, a lot of agency owners. Um, there's a lot of challenges in hiring. And I hear a lot of cases where keeping good talent is a real challenge, but also hiring right the first time. And you hit something that's really spot on. I think a lot of people, it's very easy to find people who are like you, right? I mean, unless you have a problem with your own self love, right? Well, yeah, it's easy. Oh, I like this person. They're like me, right? So what would you say to that agency owner? There's who knows going who all the people are going to be listening to this, what their backgrounds are, what they're doing right now. They may be struggling in hiring right the first time. I'm not trying to ask you to give them a free coaching, clinic here, but what might you say to that person? Just some pointers. What would you do to think outside the challenge of don't just hire someone who's like you?
Yeah, great question. First off, you got to know who you are. I can't tell you how many people that I first start coaching and they have no idea what their values are, their morals, their principles, what drives them, what their purpose, what their meaning is, what fulfills them. They don't know who they are. They've lost it through life, whatever. It
Mm,
could be a million different reasons. Or, people point to their childhood, or they'll point to, their traumas or abuse or all the different things. And the thing is those don't identify you. That's
mm,
not who you are. If you want to identify with that, that's on you. Um, we can grow and evolve and rise above those things, right? We can, but yeah, it's really knowing who you are. Again, what your
mm,
values are, what your morals are, what your principles are, what your mission is, what fulfills you, what gives you meaning, what gives you purpose. If you know all those things, really well without emotion attached to it, just real and a logical, even playing field, removing all the emotions, and then having a process where you're identifying that in your applicants, right? Having a process where you're vetting and filtering out people that are obviously same as you as far as their strengths go. I guess I missed that one, the strengths.
Hmm.
So again, it's really, what is it that's missing on your team, and what is that other hat that you're not wanting to wear? Again, back to me and my agency, I was wearing 25 different hats or whatever it was. So I just ended up wanting to wear one or two. So what are the hats? What are the roles? What are the strengths? What are the values? The values, if they're in alignment with yours, morals and principles, that at least the whole concept of the whole agency, for instance, or brokerage, that's beneficial. You want everybody on board for the overall arching mission. But vetting would take, there's a bunch of different personality tests out there, if you want to call it that, but a lot of different vetting processes that you can glean from and create your own or utilize. I don't want to name any right off on this video, but you can also create your own. Like I said, it's really about testing. And if you already have a business, if you already have something currently going, evolving, if you're not starting from scratch, you want to know what's on your team now and see where the gaps are. I'm a real big believer in filling in the gaps, filling in those spaces that there's a need, right? So, and again, if you have a business that's already thriving with employees already on the workforce, they're a great resource, right? Asking them, what do you see? What are my blind spots? What are areas that we can improve in? What are some things that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis or quarterly that you maybe not so much enjoy, that aren't your strengths, right? So it's really figuring that out. So it's figuring out what your strengths are, values, morals, principles, and vetting that out through the hiring process.
So again, you said a lot of good things there. I'm just going to pull one thing out again. And again, side note, we're recording this on February 14th. And right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are celebrating their Super Bowl championship, and I am not there. I am a diehard, so I'm showing my commitment and my dedication to supporting Katherine. But one of the things that Howie Roseman said, who was in charge, he's the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he said we look for people who are a right fit for the team. And he continued with that by saying they need to fit our culture first. And that can take some time to really unravel, because a lot of times they're kids coming out of college, right? And they haven't experienced all that other 35-year-olds in the NFL have experienced, right? So we want to really do a deeper dive and talk to some people and get a better understanding if they're a good fit for our culture, and then we look at their skill sets. I thought that was very interesting. I believe, and I won't mention any names, like you said, of throwing any particular agency under the bus or anybody like that. But I think it can be easy just because you want to bring in an all-star to your team. Oh, this person has a great track record at whatever, but maybe they're not a good fit for your culture.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you would advise, if you are a person involved in the hiring process? This can really be used for any employer out there, right? But what would you say are some things to be aware of down the road if you avoid culture as part of the hiring process?
I love that. I was always a big believer in, you can always train and teach someone that's open and willing and eager to learn. You can't train attitude, right? So it's really, you're right, bringing someone on that's eager, hungry, willing to learn, excited to learn, that's attitude, right? You can't train that. You can't train someone that's got bad habits, right? I had a really big belief in hiring people that haven't developed and created bad habits someplace else. because that's hard to untrain people, right?
Mm,
As human beings are, especially like our brain loves what feels good and familiar. Our brain loves pattern. Our brain loves doing things on repeat, things that feel good and safe.
mm,
And so one of the things that I would look for is people that have wonderful attitudes that that's going to mesh really good with everybody, that has an excitement about them, a joy. Their language pattern choices really dictates and proves that they think in a way that's empowering, motivating, exciting. Looking for how they describe things, body language, and all these things are cues and what's going on in their mind.
mm,
Really looking for someone that has that spark, that excitement, that joy, and that is going to be collaborative and creative. Somebody that comes in and is asking questions about, well, how much are going to get paid, and what about this, and what about me, and what about what's going to happen to me, is really something that is, to me, indicative of someone that's really. And of course, I think to a certain level, we all are worried about ourselves, right? The thing is in an insurance agency, in the dynamic that I work with a lot and been a part of quite a lot throughout my life, is it's really about team.
mm,
I would create a culture where we work together, we collaborate together, we share ideas, we'll brainstorm in a way where I'll toss up an idea that's completely not possible, way outside of the box, and see where it goes, right? Just throw something up in the air and see what happens. And just to kind of make it fun or funny, adding some humor to it. And at the end of a brainstorming session, we'd come up with something collaboratively where everyone is included, where everyone feels heard, seen, and important and valued, right? These are incredibly important pieces to the culture that you create in any business.
mm,
So really language, spending some time really with anyone, if you're very keen and listening to word phrases and how they describe things, how they ask questions, it can give you a tremendous insight on their emotional intelligence. It can
mm,
really give you, what drives them. Is it very me focused, or are they a bit of a balance? Obviously we all care about ourselves and wanting to create some sort of safety and having that stability, probably stability with income, stability with working in a place that you enjoy, and again, getting excited to wake up every day and go to work and don't need a vacation from it. But it's also about what is their emotional intelligence? Are
mm.
they very self-aware of their language, what they're wanting, how they're describing things? Are they empowering? Do they want to move forward? You can really tell that by their language.
Hmm.
And are they open and willing to hear other people's feedback? Because that's where we learn. We learn, we glean, we grow, we evolve when we can take feedback in a way that's, looking for the 1 or 2% truth in it. There's always 1 to 2% truth in every bit of feedback that we get, if you're willing and open to looking for it, willing and open to grow from it, willing and open to see how it can benefit you, how it can get you to the next level, how you can pivot, adjust, and without shutting it down. So that to me is incredibly important with communication. Because if a person is able to, if I bring them in for an interview and they're able to healthfully communicate with me in a way that I can tell that they are self-aware and willing and open to seeing how other people's perspectives are and realities are, I know that they would fit really well with a team that I would build and grow.
That was such a power-packed response. I could take probably an hour on follow-up questions just from that response. But I'm only going to pull one again. We're going to have to take several episodes because there's just too much wealth. No, I got to be careful with your time and everything, but I appreciate it. I just go back to what you said about EQ. You also talked about body language. If you're okay with me going back to both of those, how do you communicate to a person that they need to work on their either EQ when they're just struggling to they might right self-perception, right? They believe that, and again, who you're working with, right? They're the business owner, right? And oftentimes those individuals can struggle in their defense perceiving themselves appropriately, as we all can,
Mhm.
right? And again, you don't want to project that you're weak in an area to your employees. So, oh, they may believe, and I'm not justifying it. I'm saying right how they may have that belief. Oh no, we can't let people see that I don't walk on water. Um,
Yeah.
EQ, they might be out of they may think they have a great EQ. They've got great emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
but all the employees are like, oh, right? They get it that this person doesn't have it, right?
Yeah.
So how do you graciously bring that person into the realm of, you know what, here's some ways you can work on these things, or what type of things do you do in a coaching standpoint to help them? Because I believe that the greatest, if I had to choose between, and I can say this because my IQ is not what it once was, right? But I would say that if I had to pick between IQ and EQ,
Mhm.
I would take EQ any day of the year.
Yes.
Like EQ is what gets you better working together. EQ is what can help you creatively look at things sometimes and listen to others. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I'm not belittling those with a high IQ, but you understand what I'm saying. So, what are some things that you might do, or how much you handle a person like that? That they're just struggling with self awareness, and their EQ really isn't there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would definitely one-on-one coach them. And if I, as an agency owner and not a coach, didn't have the training and knowledge and experience that I did, I would have a in-house coach where they would weekly meet with the coach and bridge that emotional intelligence. Because here's the reality is you're not, again, can't train attitude. I mean, I'm not gonna say you can't completely, it's real tough, right? But if I was a role of their coach, right, an insurance agency owner brought me in and wanted me to coach this person, like, man, I don't know what's going on. There's just this one person on the team that's just not panning out, not working out. And that was the identifier, was their emotional intelligence is really low. I would definitely work with them one-on-one in a way that, and I am brought into situations where they're like, hey, fix this person, they're broken, they need help. That's kind of how they played it to me, sometimes in those words. But what I know is me stepping in as a complete stranger, I have to develop rapport and trust with that person. And how I would approach it is, what is it that you're struggling with here in this dynamic, in this team, in this culture? What are your struggles? Where do you see that there's a disconnect or a challenge? So I would open it up to them, giving them they would lead the conversation. They would lead where we go with resolving where the disconnect is. Because if they feel it on the team, they certainly feel it. This individual that I would be coaching, they certainly feel it. Your energy walks into the room before your body does. And then even if you were on virtual, right, or some sort of hybrid situation, people are going, oh man, that person's going to be on Zoom or whatever platform you're going to be using. They're still they know. They know that there's something off, something feels funny or different, or they feel isolated, or they feel um, singled out. They feel maybe they have gotten some sort of reprimand, or they've gotten looks. I don't know. They know. So I would approach it in a way where I could build trust or rapport and develop some sort of and all coaching is confidential, 100%
Right.
confidential. So the conversation, and I would reassure them of that. But I would approach it through from their standpoint. I'm coaching them. I want to support and help them. And I know what's happened too is the realization comes that they just don't want to be there. That's the seed, right? So I want to always get below the ground and get to the seed, past the roots. I want to get all the way to the seed. What's going on? Sometimes it's stuff going on at home. And I'm more than willing to coach them on that as well, right? They have a ill parent or a spouse that's causing troubles, or a child that's got a medical issue. I mean, there's all sorts of different things that could be creating this, especially if it's been an employee that's been really stable and amazing and incredible in the past, and something shifts, right? So, your question is a really good question. The thing is it could be so many different things.
Mhm.
But as a coach, it's really being with them and finding out what is going on. How can I help? How can I serve you in a way that you do feel excited and enjoy working here? So, mhm.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I know there's no, cookie cutter. This is what, yeah, I do. Every case is different. That's awesome that you take that individual approach every single time. Again, we're going to have a wide ranging audience. People have very much experience in the benefits universe. But one of the things that I've seen going to these national events are so many younger people. That's what you say when you're about to turn 55, right? So many younger people. That's what you say. So
Okay, I'm right there
that's what
behind you.
that's what I'm saying. Not you. You're young. You're younger than me. So we're good. We're good. But what would you say to that person? And maybe it's not a younger person. Maybe they're new to this industry and they're starting their career over. Maybe they're 24 and they're deciding, what, this is a new career for me. For that person getting started in this, what are some things? Because again, I think you have a unique experience that you can share with people starting in this industry. You're not, and I don't mean to be belittling to those who are just coaches that haven't had a background in the agency, but you do.
Mhm.
And that's a tremendous thing to lean on, refer to. What are some things you would say to a person just starting out in this industry?
Delegate. Delegate as soon as you can. Really figure out and develop a really powerful team. And that might be a little bit of outsourcing. Um, I actually had a great session with an agent this last week, and they're really using AI. you know,
Mm.
if I would have had AI back when I had an agency, holy cow, things would have been so much easier. Like, I mean, I think of all and I think myself, I think of great ideas to use AI for, and I work with agents and hear their ideas. I'm like,
Mm.
it's just endless, right? So, a lot of tools, right? And when I had my agency, I was always on the cutting edge, trying new things, and my technology in the office far exceeded probably the majority. I was always testing, trying new things. Now, I will say
Mm.
that can be costly.
Mm.
And what it takes is that one thing, right? To do that one thing, break the barrier, do it differently than anyone else. And it's thinking outside of the box and being comfortable being uncomfortable. Really, that's where you grow, that's where you evolve. And like you said, with my experience, there's a lot of discomfort and a lot of stories that I could share, and I can laugh about it now. Like, I remember when I did this, and when I did that, and how painful it was, but I had learned so much from every single thing, even the missteps, even the mistakes, even the errors. I learned every step of the way. And one of the things that I would say, just a new agent or someone coming into the industry brand new, is enjoy the journey, right? It's, as I stated at the beginning, I'm on a mountain. So the metaphor I would say is just, think of your career or this passion or this business as a journey up the mountain, right? You've got to go along the path all the way to the top of the mountain. And it's really enjoying that journey. It's not the mountaintop. You may never even reach the mountaintop, and that's okay. But it's really stopping at each elevation where the vegetation's different, the flowers, the trees, the views, the wildlife, everything, and stop and take it in and really enjoy it, really being present. As I know that a big part of my career and my success, I would be on vacation and I wasn't present. I wasn't there. I was working. I was thinking about the next thing I was going to do, the next thing, right? The next level, the next. I was not present. I wasn't there with my family. Oh, mom's working. Oh, mom, she was, I was there in body, but I wasn't in mind and spirit.
Mm.
So it's really enjoying the journey. The journey is the best part. The mistakes, those missteps, those are the best parts. That's where you're going to learn. That's where you're going to grow. And that's where you're going to be different. It's really being courageous, being brave, and going in out where it's discomfort. Because just like growing a muscle, you don't grow a muscle without discomfort.
Mm.
That's where you grow a muscle, and how you sustain a muscle is to continue to develop it, continue to train it, continue, just like we were talking about with emotional intelligence. It's really learning to think differently. And you don't just go to a conference, take a class, take a course, get a certification and go, I'm thinking different now. It's not. It's a daily process, just like brushing your teeth
Mm.
or building a muscle. You've got to train it every day. You'll keep evolving, and your emotional intelligence will keep evolving. Your emotional intelligence will keep growing. It's an infinite number of levels in your emotional intelligence and wisdom.
Again, a lot of nuggets of gold there for people to chew on, think about. Um, I am a survivor of severe burnout. I had to take 5 months off of my life just to get it all back together because I spent the better part of 40 years. I was just taught and raised, work is not just, it was part of my DNA. And it was always one more thing to do. I was very focused on the next objective, the next project. And I did not, and I'm going back to what you just spoke about, I did not enjoy the journey. It was always about the next thing. And then when I would reach certain objectives, it was about the next project. And I never celebrated those moments. I didn't even celebrate the achievement time. So when I would get an award, it would go on the wall or be hung on the wall, and it would be okay. How am I going to do the next greater thing, right? And that was insatiable, and that just burned me to a crisp over the course of time. Damaged my relationships with my children. I think it was had a lot to do with me getting divorced, and just ruined a lot of things because I didn't learn to process the journey. I didn't learn to take time. I had to learn the hard way for self reflection. So for me, and I was too arrogant to get a coach. Now, if you would have asked me, and there's the irony, Catherine, because I was coaching my kids at various levels all the way through varsity sports in high school. And, if you would have asked me, does everybody need a coach? I said, sure. Oh, but I didn't look in the mirror to say, I need a coach. I need a coach in business and in life. Right. So, where am I going with this? I think mental health plays a huge part in everyone's well-being, but especially in leaders, there are different pieces because as business owners, as agency owners, you really do feel responsible for those families that you're employing, not just the employee number four. And most agency owners that I know don't look at their employees as a number. They genuinely care and they want to do that. So that has another emotional part to the whole process, right? So, what are some mental health challenges you're seeing out there that agency owners are dealing with?
Oh, I love what you've shared. The burnout is for sure. Burnout and overwhelm seem to be the two most popular words. Um, and really, that's what I do is I work with the leaders first. It just depends on how the setup is. Sometimes it's just the agency owner and then the staff. Sometimes there's a manager, and sometimes there's a couple of managers, or so it's really about working from the top down.
Mm.
Um, because if you got to lead by example. You can say one thing, but if your behaviors don't match, your employees will spot it. They'll see it, and they'll model what you do because it makes it appear to be right, because you are, in essence, they're detached, they're their second family, right? And we learn patterns, just like you talked about with your DNA, right? That was ingrained in you, that was conditioned in you. You believed it. It was on repeat. You saw that behavior, and likely there were words that were said with it that had you really ground into that belief. You were attached to, I have to work hard to be of value. I have to achieve to be worthy. I have to
Mm.
work my tail off to feel good enough, right? There was this essence of belief that in accomplishment, achievement, then you are of such value, or you will finally be happy when you meet a certain, wealth or accomplishment. So those are things that I work with upper management and leadership is, where is your worth coming from, right? Where is
Mm,
your fulfillment, meaning, and purpose coming from? That's why we really get clear on what each other's values are individually. The top 5, these aren't going on your gravestone. They're not stuck in stone. We can change them weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever. But it's really being super clear, because when you have 5 really strong values that really encompass all areas of your life, the mental, emotional, and physical health of your life, and it gets you really clear, the answers are in those 5 words,
mm,
always, on what to do next, right? When you feel stuck, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel burdened, it's really learning to self-regulate. And I would empower leaders to know how to do that. And again, everything I teach the leaders, I teach everybody else in the agency. So it's not just one person, it's everyone. But leaders have got to model and show the way.
mm,
And for me, I would say majority of my career, I believed happiness was when, right? I will be happy when I had all the things, fancy house, sports cars, fancy custom built home, the family, the vacations, the bonuses, the fat bank account. I mean, I could go in and buy anything, do anything. I felt like that was power, but it wasn't happiness.
mm.
And then it evolved to, I'll make my body look perfect and then I'll be happy. 18 months later, I won my first bodybuilding show. And I will say, for 2 days, just like what you're describing, I was excited. I wasn't happy. And then after those 2 days, I dropped lower than the feeling I had before those 18 months. I was at my lowest,
Mm.
darkest, lowest. And yes, I eroded away my thyroid as well, because I was working so hard doing all the things, and it really had a mask on.
Mm.
Everybody could see my name, my face everywhere on the outside. Catherine's got everything. It's perfect, amazing. Her life is perfect. No, I was absolutely at my worst. I would have agreed with you if you would have said happiness is an inside job. I'd be like, you're right. You are right. But my behavior didn't match that. So that's what I would point out with leaders, managers, and then work with the team individually and as a group. It's fun to do the both dynamics. So everybody has the same language. We're talking the same. We help and support one another. But if you're sitting there saying that happiness is an inside job, but yet you're working 12, 18 hours a day, burning yourself out, burning the candle at both sides, are you modeling that? Do you really understand that
Mm.
past the logical level? No. I know what that's like. It's chasing a finish line that's not outside of you. Happiness is not outside of you. And when you take ownership of your own happiness, and you know where your feelings come from, you know where how to really cultivate and create fulfillment, meaning, and purpose, again, you would get up excited to work every day. You wouldn't have to set an alarm, because again, from your 5 strong values what's most important. You will create a routine, a ritual, a schedule that you thrive in, that you're excited for.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with that and again, just reflecting on my own personal life and professional life, just going through burnout, and I had to change my mindset overall. That was really the root of it all. It wasn't that I was not practicing things that didn't lead to success. They did, but I wasn't enjoying it at all, because it was always one more. It wasn't enough at the gym. A lot of things like you were saying, I was doing those myself. And I picked up a couple different books, and I started listening to people who were incredibly successful. One was John Wooden, and I had to redefine success in my mind. And I had to come to grips with his definition of success, which was success was defined as giving your best effort and your best focus in that day, and with the best that you are able to give in that day. There's a lot of things there. Your 100% is going to look different every day. I used to beat myself up on days where I didn't feel like 100% because I couldn't do my normal 100%, and I didn't process that 100% is going to be different. And the other thing was, so I had to redefine what success looked like. I also had to understand habits with persistency, consistency, and patience, because I'm not the world's most patient individual, as I'm sure many out there that'll be watching this or listening will attest to as well, perhaps in their life, right? And I went to Tom Brady, right? I'm not a Tom Brady necessarily fan, but or a Patriots fan, obviously, but here's a guy who's known as the GOAT. So what can you say from the GOAT? And he said, somebody asked him, how do you define success? And he said, giving 100%, and almost the same thing John Wooden said, giving 100% and the best that you're able to do that day, and then repeating it the next day, and then giving the best you can with the best focus and your best energy the next day. And then you will look back and you will see successful patterns. You will see successful habits. So I began to be more organized in my routine, making sure that those things are just non-negotiable, right? My workouts now, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to wait. That's what I do first thing in the morning, and then a meditation time and stretching time, and the list goes on. How important is it to you, or how might you describe the importance to a client who might struggle with either the definition of success or habits?
Mm. I love the quote, and you're right, there is a lot of depth to the quote because it really breaks. A lot of clients will come to me and they have this big giant goal. I want to lose 40, 50 pounds, or I want to elevate my career to this level, or whatever. There's usually really giant big goals, but like your quote, that your how you redefine success really offers a lot of clarity there, and it is in alignment with how the brain works, right? It really breaks it down and simplifies it. Let's make this stupid small, as I love to say, and it might even be just this next hour. I appreciate the day because I feel like we can work in a capacity of a day. Most of us can. Some people really do have to work hour chunks at a time, and that's fine. Uh, but the hour or the day is really nice to be able to figure out what's the routine and what are the rocks in my schedule, right? The things that really set me up for success in my mental, emotional, and physical health. Priority, right? If you don't have your health, what do you have? Nothing. When your health goes bad, when there's really a major health issue, what problems do you have? You have one, your health. Okay, so your health is ultimate, most important. So if you put rocks in your schedule that really set you up for success in the mental, emotional, and physical realm, those are rocks in your schedule. You don't need to tell anybody what those rocks are. They're just blocked out in your schedule, right? Your calendar is blacked out. They don't need to know what that is. You're with a client, you're busy, right? You don't need to define that, justify it, give excuses, nothing. Those are rocks in your schedule. The rest of life fills in around that, period. Because the reality is working with a lot of individuals, again, to be able to wake up excited every day to go to work without having an alarm, you've got to set yourself up for success. When in my insurance career, I did a lot of things backwards at the very beginning. Water was one thing. I wouldn't drink water unless it was filtered through coffee. I believe that having a gym membership was a waste of money and time. Me too. I was working at the very beginning, burning myself out. I had a lot of beliefs that I had to break too. Let's just put it that way. And how I broke those was having a coach. Having a coach that really got me honed in to prioritizing and putting rocks in my schedule and letting life fall in around the cracks. And if there aren't any cracks today, there's no empty spaces, then these other things are going to have to either be put off for another day or delegated. So it's really prioritizing your mental, emotional, and physical health, hands down. It's a non-negotiable.
That's awesome. Accountability. I mean, some people look at accountability, okay, and I'll just be transparent here. There was a time in my life I looked at accountability almost like a four-letter word, right? Oh no, Accountability, right? It's, I mean, not just numerically, but it's not a four-letter word, right? And I had to be humbled to understand the real value in having someone to be accountable to. Um, Sometimes it can be very easy when you are on the top of the chain of command, right? If you might feel like, well, you're not answering to anybody, you're so used to making your own decisions. That can be hard for some people, can it? To accept being accountable to someone else. How important is accountability in what you do as a coach?
So what I do is I teach people how to fish. I want them to be able to go on that show alone and survive, metaphorically, right? I don't know if you ever watched that show. I love the show Alone, especially the ones that are in Canada, because I lived in Alaska for 30 years. So it reminds me of the harshness up there, and survival. So I really do believe that I teach people how to fish rather than give them a fish. I don't want my clients codependent on me. Although if I made them codependent on me, I would I wouldn't have to find new clients ever again, because I would have a book of clients that would depend on me for answers and advice and my opinions. The problem is if I give them my thoughts, my opinions, my views, my perspectives, and tell them what to do these 12 steps today, they're codependent on me, and I'm not empowering them. I'm not showing them how to be accountable to themselves. And then they're dependent on me, right? And I don't feel like that serves them. So, but I do know when I first start working with clients is language, right? A lot of brand new clients that come to me tell me what they don't want. They can articulate what they don't want
Hmm.
with such clarity that gives me most of my clients are by phone, depends on the level of coaching that they purchase, but most of them purchase a basic package without video, so it's just phone calls. But they'll tell me with vivid words and descriptors and language of what they don't want, what they're experiencing, what life is like for them right now, how miserable, how awful, how painful, how disgusting, how horrible and painful, all the things, right? They could go on at length. And then I ask them what they want. What would it look like? How do you want to feel? And they're tongue tied. They can't describe it.
Hmm.
They don't know how to describe it. They don't know how to visualize it. They don't know how to use their imagination and give me a new script, a new movie to play in my mind to visualize them doing, being, and having.
Hmm.
So I know that words and language are power. So first, working with clients is learning language patterns. Learn, because if you can't describe it, you won't get it. You won't achieve it. You can't have it. So just like you've brought up a lot in today is athletes. Athletes do mental fitness exercises. Athletes are very emotionally aware, self-aware. They are they train their brain just as much as they train their physical body.
Hmm.
All athletes, all very, very, very successful people. That is the difference. I have philanthropists that are incredibly wealthy, that don't have to work a day in their life, to people that are jobless. And the difference is their language.
Hmm.
So when I first start working with them, it's really shifting their language, it's training their brain to work for them rather than against them. And that's
Hmm.
using language that their 1980s computer, i.e. brain, understands. You've got to command your brain what you want more of in your life. You've got to be able to articulate and describe what it is that you want, or you won't have it.
Hmm.
So that ties into accountability for being able to say out loud what it is you want to another human being, me, someone that we develop rapport and trust and have that canister of time of confidentiality, is self-accountability. Depending on the level of coaching that they sign up for in our agreement, sometimes there are accountability pieces in there that we create together. I don't
Hmm.
demand accountability on anybody, because again, I'm not teaching them how to fish.
Hmm.
I'm empowering them to come up with what's going to work for you. Every bit of my coaching, you're right, there's no one size fits all in clothes or coaching. So I meet every single client where they are. What is it that you
Hmm.
need? And we might put training wheels on for a while, but there will be a point when we take those training wheels off and I push them down the road on the bike, wobbly or not. We've got to learn how to be self-accountable. We've got to take ownership and responsibility for how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. That's empowering. That's going to get you to the next level. That's going to get you further in life. That's going to develop the emotional intelligence. That's going to open up doors and more opportunities. And that might be where you're working now, and it might be somewhere else. And it might be in other areas of your life. But again, it's creating that life that you don't need a vacation from.
That's awesome. And I've really enjoyed this time, I really have. And Sally, I don't have to be respectful to your time. I'm not Sally to be respectful, but we're just wrapping things up here towards the end of our discussion, at least for now.
Yeah.
You've proven that we have to have multiple episodes
Yep.
because you have a great wealth of insight, and I think can add a lot of value to people. But I have to ask you this question. So there are a lot of coaches in the insurance industry. Um, Different reasons, and they might give you different reasons to use them. Now, if you're watching today or listening today, if you've listened to multiple parts of this interview, you don't even need her next response to know the why you should consider being a client. But what's a differentiator for you? Like if I'm Joe agency owner and I'm realizing I finally have the awareness, you know what, I need a coach, and there's all these wonderful coaches lined up, and I see Katherine Hood. Why would I select her versus the 25 other coaches that are out there today?
Great question. You're so full of great questions. I've enjoyed this as well. And I do want to continue this, whatever that looks like. So let's brainstorm on that. I'm different. I definitely have looked at the competition out there, and it's very different, right? And again, no one size fits all. A lot of the strategies that I see, of course, I can only see what's on the cover. A lot of what I see is a lot of them telling you what to do. Do this, do this, do this. Here's the steps. And here's what I know is I've gone to thousands of conferences. Might be an exaggeration, probably 1,000. I've been to so many conferences in the insurance industry and others. And I very early in the beginning of my insurance career, I would go to conferences and I'd have notebooks of notes, tons and tons of notes. I mean, the Tony Robbins of the world and all the things, and I just scribble all these notes and all this stuff. And I go back with this notepad full of scribbles and hit the desk, and my email box was full and fires were over here, literally and figuratively. Just so many things that I had to deal with that notebook wouldn't even get cracked open. Nothing would be applied. Nothing would be implemented. Nothing would happen. And it really was just a trip, a vacation, if you will, in a cold, air conditioned conference and gained no value from it. So it's really, people really don't follow through with being told what to do. Here's the 10, 15 steps to profitability, or here's the 10, 15 steps to making your insurance agency culture X, Y, and Z, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of marketing out there, and my marketing too is always evolving and pivoting and so forth of that nature. I'm not telling you what to do. It's not telling you what processes to implement and do, and this is the success, because here's the reality is the insurance industry, again, I started back on carbon paper, right, and a typewriter. I was working at Geico with carbon paper and typewriter. It's always evolving and changing, and if you're not like I was, cutting edge, trying new things and really implementing and taking forward fast, swift motion forward and being in action, you're gonna shrivel up on the bookshelf and you won't be winning the trips and having all the things. And again, that's not where success and happiness is, but it's taking swift action forward. And I support every single one of my clients, whether that be the individual or to the team or the group, but I support them in what's challenging them. What are the barriers? We break them down one at a time, and we build them up, and we create a culture and an environment that's fun, exciting, where everybody feels heard, valued, important, seen, where we're collaborative, where we're creative, when we're really finding out what each other's strengths are and supporting and cheering each other on. So it's different. My competition, sure, they have some great ideas. Absolutely. Not dissing on them, not not saying I'm better or worse. It's just different. Really, a lot of what they're doing is telling you the processes inside of your agency. Do you need that too? Maybe. But you can really get that off of AI.
I love it. Well, again, I want to thank you for taking time today. I just appreciate you, appreciate all the value that you've brought here today with all the content. I hope people can see that value and take action on it. Again, just consider Katherine when you're looking for a coach. Everybody does things differently. Everybody has a different approach. I just have always loved how you take. And again, I've been a coach in sports all the way through high school, and I've always tried to take what are the strengths of the individuals, what are the strengths of the team, try to expose or better understand where are the weaknesses so they can strengthen those weaknesses. I mean, in high school, you can't bring players in, but what can you do to raise the bar and make people stronger? And that's what I've known from you from day one is you try to take people as they are and help them understand how they can strengthen the team, look for those other skill sets and others, as well as what can they do to be stronger individually. And you take it on an individual basis. So I appreciate you, my friend, and I wish you the greatest success.
Thank you, John. You're amazing. This has been wonderful, and let's share this space again and find ways to serve and support people out there. You and I both have that's what our purpose is. That's what we're here to do, and happy to do that and continue this conversation again.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.